Hey, friends, happy Wednesday. Hope you are all well. I always love connecting with you all and being live. I know I haven't been online as much, and I know I mentioned that is because I'm really enjoying connecting with people again in person. So my time has been a little bit limited, but I always love being here with you. And if you're here with us, please let me know. And you know that I always like to make the show interactive. So if you're here and watching, let us know if you have questions for myself or my guest, or definitely always here to help answer those questions. I'm really loving all of the graduation posts that I'm seeing, and congratulations to all the graduates, all the way from preschool to college. It's always inspiring to see those pictures and those posts. And as always, I'm so grateful for you being here. Since I'm not online as much, what I have done is I've opened up my, in-person mentoring session. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to holler out. I'm always here for you. I appreciate you and appreciate our community. Michael Huey's here with us, so thank you for joining us. As always, I am so grateful to be able to host Real Talk, where I get to have real life conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. I mean, it's just always inspiring. And today, my incredible trailblazing guest is Jon Waldrop. Jon is the managing partner of Kasowitz Benson and Torres' Silicon Valley office. He represents industry leading companies in patent and trademark litigation. His clients include Google, Uber, world leading global technology companies, and Cox Communications, the third largest cable television provider in the United States. He has acted as lead trial counsel in many cases for his clients and has a history of achieving favorable jury verdicts. Jon achieved a verdict touted as the largest verdict of the year in the district in which it was handed down. He was named an intellectual property trailblazer by the National Law Journal and a top intellectual property lawyer in California by the Daily Journal. He was also named California Practitioner of the Year in Litigation by Managing IP Americas. He was listed among the 2020 Black Leaders Worth Watching by Profiles in Diversity Journal. Jon has also earned the National Institute for Trial Advocacy's Master Advocate designation and is a fellow in the Litigation Council of America's Trial Lawyer Honorary Society, in which less than 0.5% of American lawyers are invited to join. Please help me welcome the really incredible, trailblazing, and fun Jon Waldrop.
Grace, what a wonderful introduction, Grace. So warm. I'm blown away. So great to see you.
That's you. It's like that's all you.
Well, you did a great job of delivering it. I was like, who is this guy?
that
I mean, who? I thought I was gonna be on.
Oh, it is you. Thank you so much for joining me. I know like how busy you are, and we've been, connecting off and on over the last few years, and I really appreciate because you're a busy man. So thank you for hanging out with us today.
No, it's a joy. I watch your work and very proud of you. So whatever I can do to advance your mission with my story and things that we've talked about in the past, I'm willing to do it. I'm excited to do it. Looking
I am
forward.
too. I am too. And one question that always comes up, when I'm connecting with my community and people like yourself is like, did you always have a passion to become a lawyer? Because you're just incredible in the things you do. Was that like when you were a kid, did you say, I'm going to become a lawyer and I'm going to be a badass? I, s- I'm going to swear, but
No. Actually, it's very funny. I did not. I wanted to be an engineer. My father was a mechanic. My mother worked at a steel mill, and I always wanted to be an engineer. I always wanted to work for the auto manufacturers. I want to work for like a car company. Grew up around cars as my dad being a mechanic. Never thought about being a lawyer until much later in life,
mm,
in which I met some lawyers. And as many kids, you read books and stuff like that. And some of the people I admired were lawyers: the Abraham Lincolns, the Robert F. Kennedys,
mm,
the John F. Kennedys, the Johnny Cochrans, and the like. It came much later in time. Now, I would add this: I do come from a very long line of ministers in
mm,
Alabama. And so looking back on that, I spent a lot of time watching my grandfather and great grandfather and uncles preach. but never connected that to being a lawyer. But
Beautiful.
that definitely has come into play into what ultimately I ended up doing. But no, it just kind of came about later in life after meeting lawyers and working with them. But I always wanted to be an engineer. I want to be a techie.
Well, I saw that. I mean, you went to Harvard and received your mechanical engineering degree. And so from mechanical engineering to becoming a lawyer, like how did that journey unfold? Because you said it was later in life.
Yeah, it's funny, you just never know where the universe and where God will send people in your life to change things or redirect you. I majored in mechanical engineering, always wanted to do engineering. My parents are kind of like, we're not going to pay or even support anything that wasn't like either, no liberal arts, only either science or math. So definitely knew I wanted to be a mechanical engineer and didn't have much thinking beyond that. I was going to work for Georgia Power Company. I'm from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to work for Georgia Power Company, spent my summers worked for Alabama Power and Georgia Power on the nuclear side, and was fortunate enough to meet some lawyers who worked for the power company on the nuclear side. And I was gophering like maintenance work records for them. And one of the guys was like, look, man, what are you doing? You seem like a smart kid. This industry is dying. The nuclear power industry is dying. You should go to law school. And over the course of several weeks, they convinced me to think about applying. I said, look, I'll go and take the LSAT, see how I do. And I ended up doing pretty well. And that was just a happenstance kind of a thing that happened when I was about 20, 21 years old in my junior year in college. And I did pretty well, decided to apply and got into some good places, and the rest was history. But for that meeting, I was probably going to go and work for some, engineering company, and the rest would be history. But that chance meeting with some guys during my summer job.
So there's no coincidences.
There are no coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and God or the universe or whatever you want to believe in, I believe God sends people to you, messages to you for a reason to direct you to where you're supposed to land, even though you may not believe you're supposed to be there. So I believe in that.
Absolutely believe in that myself. So when we don't believe, I'm not saying we don't believe in ourselves, but when we're maybe confused and these people come and these signs come, like, how do we know? Do you feel it somewhere? Is it in the mind? Is it in our, spirit? Like, how do we know, like, okay, this is something I really need to do. I'm guided to do.
I think you have to, I was always raised as a person of faith. I grew up in a very religious household. And I believe that you have to have faith in yourself and faith in something higher, and that you're here for a reason. I believe everybody here is here for a reason. They have a journey that they're on. There's something they're supposed to accomplish. I think to make the world a better place. That's just me. I think we're here to make the world a better place. Yeah. And so you have to follow your intuition, and have to have belief that there is a plan for you. And we all have those moments where that was weird, right? Or why did this person pop up? Why did I meet Grace? When I met you, I didn't think we'd ultimately be having, this live stream podcast together. Didn't know, right? We had interesting conversation and talked about things that were positive and how we can make the world a better place, but didn't know. I just really believe you have to be listening to your intuition. I'm a big meditator. I pray a lot. And I just believe that God will send me the things that I need to accomplish my mission here.
Amen. I love that. And I believe that too. I'm a believer, again, a higher, whatever you want to call it, a higher power, God, the universe, source. And I believe that too. Although sometimes we fall into those doubts and into those challenging times in those challenging places. How have you been able to push through those doubts and fears and get to the other side? Because what you create, what you've accomplished, it just wasn't an overnight success. And I'm sure there were many challenges along the way.
Yeah. So, I'm a very humble person, right? So I'm not a person who goes, oh, Jon Waldrop did all this without any help. I came out fully formed from the womb. I've been going from victory to victory, success to success, no defeats in between. No, I did this I had an amazing mother who sacrificed for me, right? I had tremendous people around who encouraged me. And I've always been imbued and believed with a belief that, God would have never brought me this far to desert me. So I'll tell you, just, you and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. So Like there have been many moments where I've gone to my dad and I said, Dad, this happened. It's a disaster, or this loss, or this defeat, or this failing, or this mistake. And my father would say to me, as his father said to him, he says, look, has God ever deserted you? And I would say, no. And he would say, well, why would he desert you now?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I have a great circle of friends and supporters. And one of the things I've tried to do in my life is surround myself with positive people who support me, because I've never done it alone. And so when I hit setbacks and things go wrong, I reach for that source to be resource of my mother, my father, my wife, my friends, who are constantly telling me that you are great, you deserve, you are worthy, you've never been deserted, you will not be deserted now. All things work together for the good of those, right? My things like, the victory is already yours. You just have to show up. So much of life I have found is just showing up, not letting you defeat yourself, right? Not giving up. And this is a person, and we'll talk about this maybe later, but I thought about quitting many times, right? And
we'll get to that.
Yeah. And so much of life is just showing up and having people around you to say, keep fighting, keep going. You know what I mean? Like that. So support system around you, people who will encourage you and resource you. And you have to keep remembering that you've never really been deserted. You're not doing it by yourself. For every step you take, there is a power that takes 10 steps, right? You just wiggle your big toe and they'll take you 5 miles. You know what I mean? Like you got to have that kind of thinking.
Absolutely. And I've had way more, challenges and losses and trauma than I have had wins. And I'm very grateful for, the success and wins I've had, but you don't see on the, the other side of it, all the challenges, the self-doubt, the fear, the problems, the challenge, however, I mean, sometimes I'd be on the floor, a mess, crying.
Yeah.
And for me as well, the higher power, God's source, always got me through. And there's times that I thought like, okay, this is horrible. Like I'm not going to get through this. But I'd pull, and I definitely, you get through. And sometimes it feels like you're not going to get to the other side. And I was working with a client yesterday, and same thing said, has God ever, deserted you? Has the universe ever deserted you? And no, just when we're in the storm, it doesn't feel so easy. And sometimes many of us, I'm so grateful for a great community, but sometimes we don't have those people to reach out to. And that's when we got to really dig deeper into, our source and the higher power.
I believe that 100%. I'm a child of divorce, right? So had a very difficult childhood in terms of the divorce of my parents. I grew up in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, like the heart of Dixie. The historical racial and prejudice overlay that had, negative imaging, negative suggestions, what you could do, what you couldn't do. Going to a place like Harvard where, I really didn't fit in, right? Kid from the South, Black kid. And you look back on that and it just reminds you that all things are possible if you believe, that you work hard, but also be authentic. One of the things I struggle with is feeling worthy, right? Like you deserve. And I struggle with it now, feeling like, worthy of success. Is it all going to dissipate? Am I a fraud? Am I really what you read in the bio, trying to get consistent with that? And, your head is your biggest enemy, like the thoughts in your head and what you say to yourself every day, which is, why gratitude, positivity are huge. But yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, I'm almost 50, right? And I still, it's a battle every day in your mental head, because that's where the game is won and lost, right?
Absolutely.
And the self-talk, it's a struggle every day, and it's not easy. And I'm sure there have been times where I've been on the floor, but I would say keeping a positive mindset and surrounding myself with people who are positive, and just understanding that the victory is already yours. You just have to show up. My dad says it all the time. The victory is already yours, man. You just got to show up.
I love that. And I agree. It's like, it's there for us for the taking. It's just, what steps are we going to take to get there? And again, I'm not saying it's easy. I know it's not easy, but it is a mental game. And you're so right. That game is won in our mind for sure. And I believe that. We talked a little bit about staying small, but not realizing we're keeping ourselves small. What was something that helped push you through that? Because we don't even believe we're staying small. So what pushed you out of that box into, okay, now I'm going to step into my power, into my authentic self, into my game?
My failed attempts to stay small. I was, our God and universe. Look, I never had a plan to be trial lawyer of the year for California or Wendy's. I would, most of my life, I really wanted to be small. I wanted to live in the South. I wanted to get away from corporate America and big law firms for what I perceived as barriers to people like me being successful. I spent most of my time trying to find a way to have more control over my life and keep it small, more controlled, right?
Got it.
And I spent like a decade trying to escape, and all of my efforts failed miserably. My efforts to stay small failed in part, I think, and we'll talk more about this later, because I think that was not what God wanted for me. That was not how he was going to use me. But my efforts to stay small, keep my world small, failed. I was trying to, a lot of business. I had several businesses that I was trying to start that would have kept me smaller, would have, been more comfortable for me as I thought, in terms of getting out of the practice of law, these big firms where I feel like someone like me was facing barriers to being successful. That failed. And I looked up one day and all I had was this. And I decided to dedicate myself to this, being a lawyer, and put my whole spirit and soul into it and see what happened. And that changed everything. And when I decided to make this the main thing, the doors like exploded. And so I tell people all the time, like, focus on what's in front of you. Focus on what you have. And if it's something that you don't want to do, find the next thing, but devote yourself to it 100. Like, go all in. Give yourself. Don't, the Bible says, be you hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out. Those kind of expressions, be hot or cold, but don't be lukewarm. And when I became excited about that, it just blew up. And but I fought against it. You know what I mean?
And so give me an example, like how you fought against it.
I fought against it by, I said to myself, early in my career, I was working in law firms. I hated it. I didn't think that they were conducive. I didn't have any mentors of people who looked like me, who had been successful. And so I was going to quit. I was going to go and do something else, go into real estate business, maybe go into find another job, maybe become a business owner where I didn't have to work in corporate America. And I was going to quit. And I got lucky enough as I was trying to find a way to make enough money to quit, right? And I got lucky enough to meet a lawyer, another African-American lawyer, Black lawyer, who was a tremendous business developer, leader, and trial lawyer. And that kind of was the beginning of the change of my life. But yeah, I was, saying I'm only going to do this job for 4 or 5 years. I'll do okay at it. I'll do good at it, but I'm not going to be fully invested, right? I'm looking at the next thing. And that's how I would try to get out. It didn't really work. My plans failed, and I got presented with a few mentors and opportunities that were so obvious that I needed to focus on in connection with these, and also with these failures, that I decided, look, this is all I got, man. So let me just go at it.
So was there like a moment where you decided, was there an event that happened that made you decide, okay, this is all I got and I'm going to go all in?
Yes. There was a moment, probably like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, where I was just like, had a business opportunity. and I had invested a lot into it in terms of real estate, and it just went poof. You know, the recession hit. It was a huge L for me, and I looked around like, what do I have? You know, those moments where you're feeling sorry for yourself, you feel like you're not going to make it, or you know, you've been a fool. You didn't plan well. You look up and you say, what do you have? And that was a moment, even though I didn't think about it, of gratitude. Okay, what do I have? Well, I'm a lawyer. I'm pretty good. And I've been able to do some things by persisting so long to have some pretty unique experiences. Maybe God is telling me, this is what I want for you. So why don't we, for once, do that and see what happens? And literally, when I decided to do that, within 18 months of my life, within 2 years, it was on another level. It was like exploded.
Wow. So once you had the conviction to focus on what was in front of you and put all your energy and effort there, it flourished.
It flourished.
Did you enjoy it?
I found ways to enjoy it. I found ways to connect in what I was doing to enjoy it. But I also had a gratitude about it too. I was grateful for it. So much of life I've found is that people are not grateful for what they have, and in not being grateful, they don't receive more. And so that was a gratitude moment for me. And that gratitude moment propelled me. And by, you know, when you focus on something fully, you find things about it that you like. There's something that's enjoyable and interesting about everything that people do, no matter what the job.
And you said, like, there's always something, find the gratitude in whatever it is. And something that I know has come up, well, I'm not happy in what I'm doing. How can I be grateful? And I've learned you can be grateful for certain aspects and be open to more and better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And plus it sounds like once you went all in, you didn't have, you're investing energy into, being a lawyer and not spreading your energy in all other places.
You hit it right on the head. And that's the number one lesson, is no matter what it is, if you love it, you want to do it, go all in. Find a way to put all of your energy and focus in it. And that will increase your success and enjoyment.
Get in it to win it.
In it to win it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, Grace. Let's go. In it to win it.
I'm kind of there too now. It's like something I need to go all in at, and I'm, but it's a process too.
Yeah.
I've learned that I'm going to fail, and I keep failing, but I learned from those failures. And it's scary sometimes to go all in, because if I go all in and fail, then what? It doesn't matter, because I'm going to learn. We're going to learn.
I mean, you hit it right on the head. Looking back on it, my attempts to do these other things, I think I wasn't patient enough, right? I didn't understand the process. I could go back and probably have succeeded with the head I have now if I had been more patient, more trusting in the process, willing to look before I leap, look twice maybe, and having a more life as long perspective. Don't be in a rush. Have a plan that is realistic. I didn't, I just wanted to I had an emotional reaction to what I was dealing with. And I think did not think about, look, hey, John, given where you are in your circumstances, have a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan or 7-year plan, or, start putting things in motion. I was just kind of want to get out as fast as possible, you know what I mean? And that didn't work out, thankfully. But to your point, it's a process.
For sure. It's a domino effect. I in my experience, because once I take this step, then this step, comes into play. Then this person moves me to this step, and as long as I keep showing up, we keep showing up. That's how it goes. Because listen, some days I really don't want to show up, but I'm like, okay, Grace, like if you stay committed and consistent, and I don't know what it looks like, but I'm going to show up, and that's been helping me.
Law of attraction is showing up.
I believe in that 100%. Yeah. I really do. Something we've talked about, and if you can speak on this, you said people feed off of us. What do you mean?
I believe that your energy is the most important thing that you can preserve, second to your health, and maybe they're related. and people feed off of energy. There are people who resource you, right? Who add to you, and then there are vampires, right? There are people who drain you. I try to always be the kind of person who you felt better with. You felt better after you got up from sitting down with me than before you did, right?
Always.
And always want to be with people where I felt better after sitting with you than I did before. And that is a thing that a lot of people don't think about, your energy and who's adding and who's subtracting. And that's huge for me because I spend a lot of energy dealing with people, difficult circumstances. As I've gotten older, I've realized that you have to resource yourself, preserving your energy and keeping all the negative energy vampires away. And it's hard to do, right? Because some of them may be in your family. Some of them may be your best friends, right? I would say get rid of them. But yeah, that's people feed off your energy and you have to keep it up.
Yes. And protect our energy as well. Because like you said, there are going to be inevitably circumstances where the energy is going to be, negative. And I'm practicing how to stay grounded, keep my energy, keep my vibration, where it's at, so that doesn't affect me. And it's not always easy. Which kind of brings me to this question. How do you stay focused and in the game when life is happening around you? Because you're a father, a husband, a son, so you have all these other roles and life happens. So how do you stay focused and in the game, in these big trials? I mean, you win some really big trials that take a lot of energy. How do you stay focused when life's happening?
It's a challenge, right? I'm a human. I do it through, I meditate a lot. I'm pretty serious meditator, however you want to define that, but I meditate a lot. Two, I'm a big affirmation person. I have to spend a lot of times controlling my thoughts and the negative and banishing them. I try to exercise and get a lot of sleep, but the number one thing is I surround myself with people who are positive, who understand what I'm trying to accomplish and who encourage me to do it. So when there are moments where I feel like I'm quitting, I'm done, I can't believe this happened to me, I don't deserve this, this is a travesty, it's unfair, they tell me, get up, Grace, John, get up, keep going. You deserve to be here. This is just one bump in the road. This doesn't define you. The victory is already yours. Like that is like the number one thing. And I'm also much more, as I've gotten older, I'm much more aware of my energy and how sometimes you got to take a break. Sometimes you got to resource yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how you say that. I'm surrounded by, I've created an incredible team around me, and that really fuels me in those moments where I doubt myself. One of my team members shows up, we have a conversation, and I walk away and I feel better. And so, yes, everything is within us. However, like you said, it's like I need that cheerleader sometimes, and that really helps me too. So I'm so grateful that you touched on that, because yes, we have everything we need, and we have our God and the greater power, but also it's like community and team to support us. That's huge. So I appreciate that reminder. One of the most greatest stories I love talking to you about is how from your greatest losses came your biggest wins. And I'm just getting emotional even thinking about it. I don't know why. But would you be open to share about that?
Yes. I am a believer that losses can turn to big, what looks like a loss in the natural and the supernatural, God turns into your biggest win and sets you up for greater victories. I actually want, there have been many such moments, but the biggest moment was I lost a trial, big jury trial, lost a trial, and had worked my heart out for it, lost it, put on a hell of a trial and lost it. And it was one that was, televised around the country or whatever, and lost it and was devastated. But unbeknownst to me, there were people watching the performance of me and my team. and who reached out to me later. And that led to some of the biggest opportunities I've ever had in my life. I have had moments where things were denied me. I was, it took me, in the law firm world, you usually make partner in 8 to 10 years, right? Sometimes it can be longer. And I didn't make partner until I was like 12 years out of law school, right? So most of my friends had made it before me. I was kind of lagging. I didn't really care because I was trying to get out of the practice of law, right? So, but
yes,
yeah, the focus. And it was 1 year I was up for partner and I didn't make it, didn't really care. And it looks like a loss. I decided to leave for other reasons and to go to another firm. And that what would have been perceived by many people as a loss because I was up for partner, I ended up getting put with a group of lawyers that put me in places that allow me to expand and reach in places I never thought I could imagine. Mm-hmm. So I am a big believer in keep fighting, and that losses and the natural to you look like, oh, that was an L. But in reality, they allow you to reflect, mm-hmm. to become better, right? To improve your game. But they also may just, you never know who's watching. You know what I mean? You never know who's looking, right? And, Cinderella doesn't get to be seen, right? Unless she gets a chance to go to the ball, right?
True.
And as my other friends say, the corollary to that is once she gets there, she's got to know how to dance, right?
True.
And so much of life is just being on the stage, having the opportunity to perform and people seeing you and you getting a shot. The outcome, sometimes you can control, sometimes you can't.
That's so true.
But just the opportunity to be seen and for people to see your work, you never know where that leads. So I'm a big believer. My biggest losses have resulted in my biggest wins.
I love that. And I remember when we talked about your biggest losses, you're questioning, continuing on. And then a few days later, you get that call. The person was watching and you had no idea. That story makes me so emotional because it's just a reminder. You just never know what's on the other side. And sometimes we work so hard and we don't see the results. And then it just can happen in this moment. But it really wasn't in a moment. You've been planting those seeds for years.
Exactamundo, right? You've been being prepared. You've been in the furnace. You've been prepped for this one moment. And it's all about how you show up, not the necessary results, right? Because we can't control that sometimes, but how did I show up? Did I show up and show out, right? Did I wilt? How did I? And you just never know. That's been one of the greatest, and that happened like several years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. But that has been the biggest thing that's concrete. You live by faith. We all hear these stories, right? But and I have faith, but it's faith with experience is pretty powerful, right? When you can point to it, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And that's what keeps me going, because as I look back on my life and the challenges I face and the successes, and then I look back and it's a reminder, like, just keep going, because it always unfolds the way it's meant. If I give up, it's not going to unfold. But if I keep, moving forward and learning, then, and I have to believe too, and have conviction and trust. Like you said, once you put your focus and your conviction there, it unfolded. But it's not always an easy journey, because we get lost along the way. Lost in ego, lost in the distractions. Which brings me to, has your definition of success changed as you've traveled, on this journey?
Absolutely. My definition of success, as most people, was more rooted, very egocentric, money, power, or control or independence. As I've gotten older, my definition of success is morphed into, have I made the world a better place? Have I expanded opportunity for other people who wouldn't ordinarily get it? Am I maximizing the use of my talents, even as I want to shrink, run away sometimes.
Totally.
I had, it's very funny. I had a moment where I had a friend of mine circling back who wanted to quit. wanted to quit his job. He was an African-American black man in a huge job, right? And I said to him as he's thinking about quitting, I said, look, man, if you quit, there's only so many people who are in your role. You know how many people you inspire by being in this job? Do you know how many people look to you and say you're there? And that is something that allows them to persist and continue and persevere. And if you're not there, who's going to do it? Maybe you're one of the few people who has the stamina, the intelligence, the tenacity, all the factors you have to have together, right? The support to do it. And if you don't do it, who's going to do it, man? And that has been a more motivator to me, that I'm here to make the world a better place, create opportunity, and maximize my talents, right? That I'm not here to shrink. It's like, the story of the talents, right? In the Bible, God gave one talent, 2 talents, 3 talents. What did you do with it, right? Did you hoard it? Were you a profligate? Did you multiply it? I'm getting
so true.
I'm getting more. And then also your family too. I have 2 boys. I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. And am I preparing them for the journey better than my parents prepared me? They did a great job, but you can always get better, right? So I'm making it better for them. You know what I'm saying?
I do, because my definition of success has definitely changed from when I first started, my career to now, and and it may also continue to change as I walk this journey, and and we age and gain wisdom, and things change, and that's okay as well. Because I used to think how you start is how you end. Like, if this is my mentality here, and if I don't keep it the same, then I'm fickle. But it's not about being fickle. It's about we grow and change, and we gain wisdom. And so I love that. You've been amazing. Thank you so much. I know you're so busy, and I really am grateful to have you here today with us. And if there's one thing you can leave us with, what would that be? What's the one nugget of wisdom? You've shared so much.
I would say have faith, surround yourself with really positive people, be authentic, right? And embrace your journey and your power, and be grateful. Gratitude is, I think, once you get there, it unlocks everything.
Yes, I believe that to be true in my experience. And I'm so grateful to have you here with us. Thank you so much for those of you watching, and for those of you on the replay. If you have any questions for myself or for Jon, please reach out, and I'll definitely get to those questions, and I'll connect you with his assistant if we need to. But thank you so much. Don't go, Jon. And for all of you, thank you. I'm grateful to have you. You could be so many other places. And if you enjoy this, please share. God bless. Till next time.
Grateful for you, Grace. We're grateful for you. Thank you.